Did you know that over the last decade, we have moved from a technology era all the way into an informational era? Well, think about it. I mean, 140 characters on Twitter, information, search engines, Facebook, Instagram, information. And at the hub of that information, what we're all seeking after, number one topic, especially during the new year, is, Coach Ron, how do we get healthy? How do I lose the weight? How do I overcome the battle of the bulge? Well, on today's broadcast, we're going to be talking about the excellence of health. How do we optimize a healthy lifestyle 24/7 and avoid burnout? But there's even a deeper portion I want you to stay tuned for. It's the excellence of thought. I'm Coach Ron Kardashian. It's time to level up. Over the last couple of weeks, we have been talking on the subject from a title that I've been hearing inside my spirit, my gut instinct on developing the excellence of spirit. And we've encapsulated so many wonderful, wonderful topics. And of course, as a regular on this show, he's got a reserved seat always as my friend, executive strategist, business advisor, husband, daddy, and all-around gentleman. Will you please welcome back to the show with me, Dr. Lance Wallnau. Doc?
Hey, good to be here again.
So glad you're here. Every time we get together, it's so metaphorical. We've talked about iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling it more in this hour. I don't know if we're getting closer to the culmination of times.
It is.
There's an expediation going on. I jokingly say, anytime a pro athlete gets closer to the event, the coaches come in and the training changes. And I feel like God has ordained me to be a coach for the end times and to really prepare for His presence. Isn't that interesting?
That's a great idea, the end times coach.
Well, not that I am, but
it's
one of them. We have so many wonderful leaders, and you are just so brilliant. Thank you for taking the time to come and help me break down and edify.
Well, you know, something's on my spirit, and it was on my spirit earlier for the last 24 hours. And you know, when something keeps coming back to you,
yes, sir,
you learn to say, that might be God, maybe I should say it.
Mm-hmm.
And what the Lord is telling me is this is a unique era, and it's the time when kings go forth to war. Now think about that. It's the time when kings go forth to war. There was timing in David's administration when he had to go forth to expand the kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
And when the time of kings going forth to war takes place, we have to be diligent to take territory that God assigned to us.
Wow.
And that God is assigning us a jurisdiction. And we have to show up and expand the borders of the kingdom where God has assigned us. And the kings that came from the east to go to the birth of Jesus, they came from separate locations. But as our relationship continues to grow and flourish, I think it's a parable and a prophetic statement about, in this hour, new relationships are going to come into our people's lives.
Yes.
People watching this.
Yes.
New relationships are coming into your life. We decree it. We believe it.
Yes.
We speak it forth. Let's agree together right now.
Yes.
What you've needed for your business, what you've needed for the insight with your family, for your marriage,
for your health.
Those of you that are single,
yes,
that you've been waiting for the right person, this is the hour when you need to go forth and with the mentality of kings, of royalty.
Yes.
Because as the kings came together, looking at the star,
yes,
they got into proximity to each other.
Wow.
And as we are seeking the same vision of helping leaders, executives, CEOs, political leaders,
moms and dads, becoming better husbands.
Listen, youth, we work with youth,
yes,
which we call, next gen leaders.
Yes, sir.
As we're doing that, we got into proximity with each other, looking at the same vision. God, as you keep faithful to your vision, the Lord will bring you into proximity with kings who are going in the same direction.
Yes.
And your combined power is going to multiply your ability to take that territory.
Yes, two is better than one. We've always known it. And we've, this is what we mentioned was the Joel 2:28 generation, where the Spirit of the Lord is upon them, but they march arm in arm. Yeah. They don't skip rank. There's no backbiting. It's complete excellence.
Right.
It's virtue from a place of, I'm not going to do wrong or speak wrong to my brother on the precedence of moral excellence.
Right.
It's just not quality. It's not royalty. It's not avant-garde, as we say, right? And all of this is so pivotal in terms of acceleration. Because, and let me say this before I get into this key, and we're going to be talking about health today, the excellence of health, is that every year, Tia and I, my beautiful wife, who will be with us on the show coming up soon, she and I fast and pray like 3 days before the new year. and I just get quiet. I do a little meditation, and I ask God to give me just a word, one word, on what the theme for the whole year is. This year I got 2, and they were just those words that you said. They were acceleration and recovery, and then I felt like there was a comma after recovery. In what way? Of course, recovery of finances, recovery of health, recovery of relationships, recovery of restoring marriages, restoration, restore. But also your greatest blessing. Where's the comma? Your greatest blessing will come through your connections.
I believe it.
Because they're such the bedrock. And this is really what the level 10 leader is sensitive to. Not just to hook up, but to connect, to go up. It's not a hookup.
And I want to share with you a prayer of, I don't know if I should say his name. We're always in the battle of not disclosing.
We don't name drop.
We don't. Well, it's not that. It's that I don't want to. Later on, if he gives me permission to, I'll do it. But this is a guy who people know as the CEO of a big company.
That you're coaching.
Yeah, where yes. We're friends.
Them. Okay.
And so this guy he was hiring told me he wasn't sure if he should go to work for him. Mm-hmm. And he got a quote from him that he never forgot. Mm. And the quote was that the owner of this company said, I struggled with sleeplessness and anxiety because I had multi-million-dollar pressure on my mind every night, competition in my field. And as a Christian, I would pray, but the burden never lifted. Till I talked to a believer once who told me, here's the prayer you pray. Lord, bring into my life everyone who has my missing piece.
Yes.
And release from my life those who no longer belong there.
Yes.
Lest I hold on too long, but make it painless and natural and give them opportunity to move on.
Wow.
So what that means is this is the season when you need to say yes to the new relationships coming in. But let's face it, that doesn't mean that you've got the capacity for all relationships. Some have to go.
That's right.
And the ones that go don't have to be don't be negative.
Right.
Just pray that opportunity creates an opportunity for them to move.
You're so right. You are right on the nose. I always tell business leaders and these executives that I'm coaching, there was a story in the Bible about Jonah. And there was a man who got into a company, because that was a merchant ship. He was on the wrong company. He was wrongly employed, if we say. He was sleeping downstairs when he should have been in Nineveh. And him being on that boat created a destruction. Not to say that that's always inevitable, but it is a precaution to say you're looking for the next level, and the next level may be just behind the garment of another human being.
Exactly.
Or prohibiting you. And this is why healthy thinking, the excellence of health is so important, because good food, good mood. If you eat the wrong foods, it can actually alter the mood, and you may find yourself in eclectic situations or conversations that you normally wouldn't have. I admit it. I remember times where I didn't have a grip on this. I'd be in line at Starbucks, and I'm a talker and a people person. You could end up talking to the wrong person, lead you down the wrong path.
Tell me about it.
And I tell people, business, especially entrepreneurs, if you're an entrepreneur, you will attract other entrepreneurs. And they may try to get you to sell their pen or join their MLM or do this and do that. And this is why we want to give you this principle here. And we've talked about it in the 30-second solution, that instead of trying to hit the pause button to make more money or to be more successful, hit the fast forward button, you do want to hit the pause button. You want to hit the pause button. My mind is already thinking ahead of itself. But, and I've had to coach myself on that. Healthy behaviors constitute healthy linguistic patterns. And you can always tell the health of a person, especially a believer, by the abundance of the words that come out of their mouth.
And the thing that I've had to learn, which is not easy, is that no is an anointed word.
It is the 10th spiritual gift.
It is, you know. So what you can say no to will have a tremendous impact on what heaven can say yes to. And with social media, you guys got to know this, all of you need to know this, young people especially, that because of technology, you have the ability to connect with people you shouldn't be connecting with. So you have to be able to have that little gut sense in you that says, is this a relationship which is going to edify and lead me towards the acquisition of God's highest in my life?
Yes.
Or is this a distraction?
This is so good, you guys. Hear Dr. Lance on this. He said gut. And when I hear gut,
it's not in your head, it's down
the
here.
Gut instinct. And you know, science has proven, I read about this in the book, that the gut is actually the second brain. We talked about this over dinner the other night, in that women, this is a horrible analogy, but women prior to being raped felt this gut warning.
Sure.
Danger, danger. And a lot of them said they did not heed to it. Same thing happened with the people on 9/11. That morning there was an unction. And science has now proven that the stomach lining has just as many nerve endings as the brain.
And you said it's the second brain.
It is the second. Well, that's the science vernacular of the articulation of the gut. So I always parallel that to say, let's keep the gut flora clean. This is why probiotics are so beneficial for you. And we'll get you a bunch of information on this. I don't want to dive too much into it, but you can go to www.level10u.
Level10u, Y-O-U.
Level10u. We've got this new URL set up, and sign up so you can get a bunch of free stuff. But if you've been on a lot of antibiotics,
you know what we need to do? I think we ought to take the segment of the show, of this program, and let you. This is your mastery. This is where you're coaching me, and let you really talk about this thing and give to us the top half a dozen areas that we need to be aware of. Because talk like to us as though we're novices. Because a lot of us really need to hear what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, it starts with increase more water. I mean, especially since we're all coffee drinkers. You see, we have no coffee here. We've got water here. Of course, Jesus is the river of living water. And this is why it's so important to keep your mind thinking right, because thinking right is living right. Right living leads to right thinking leads to right living, as we're hearing. But you can't just take that in thought. You've got to take it in deed. And you will know the type of life that you're living by the words that come out of your mouth. This is why I'm so passionate about teaching this subject to corporations, of course, to churches and organizations. And my heart is so involved in the process of decision making, because in 30 seconds, you can make a decision to make or break you, or that ruins your relationships or your reputation.
And you taught me this last night at dinner. Remember this at dinner? He's starting to coach me now. And Coach Ron was saying, well, Lance, let's go with the proteins now rather than the carbs. And,
that's right.
And he said, because in 30 seconds, you can make a quality decision that can affect the rest of your life. So let's make the decision to eat healthy. I'd love to play a segment of you teaching on the quality of choices. The way that you do it is just brilliant.
I think we have one.
I really wrote the new book because there was a 30-second moment in my life that changed it forever. And it's when Jesus fell 12 inches from my head to my heart, and I prayed a 30-second prayer. Everything changed. So I wrote this book about 30-second decisions, and I've been watching CEOs make these foolish 30-second decisions in boardrooms, and it's costing them in the courtroom. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you that you've got more power in prayer in your prayer room than you do in any courtroom, any boardroom, any weight room. And it's time to let your glory, your training, your power, your anointing, your skill set, your leadership, your intercession shift. Come on, say it, shift.
I'm notorious for always telling my clients and these business owners that decisions are the gateway of change, in that the decision that you make today will dictate a lifetime. And the words that you use to solidify that decision solidify the nature and the character of where you are in your life. So if I'm very verbose about it or I'm very angry, it shows that this is the state you need to work on. Whenever I'm pointing the finger at someone else, I've got 3 fingers pointing back at myself. Yeah. So I'm the first one to show my scars, in that when I was trying to become a better husband, I was just falling flat on my face. And I kept using this silly excuse, telling Tia, I'm Italian. This is how Italians are. We're loud people. And, you know, that excuse did not go well from Mama. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because she's a very reserved lady. She's very polite and just nonstop. It's just her nature. And I began to receive this download on the decision to use the right voice at the right time. And I developed this in my coaching protocol, the CEO's voice, the daddy voice, the husband voice, and also the speaker voice. So I would come home after speaking, and I'd still have the speaker voice on, or the very charismatic. Yeah. And Tia's like, "Can you tone it down? What are you talking about?" And I had what I call temperance. So the level 10 leader is a one who shifts seasons, and sometimes those seasons are in the day, not just conglomerate seasons of summer, fall, winter, and spring, but it is the season of the moment. What season are you in? And I believe, like you've said to me off the set, we are moving into a season of excellent health, a season of restoring and taking back exactly what the enemy has stolen. And we had a scripture reference here. Right. It says, no man will be able to stand before you all the days of your life. No issue stand before you. I am giving you every place on which the sole of your foot treads, I have given. And this place to consume now is in the sphere of health, wellness.
And I really believe it's prophetically that there have been many people listening to this who every year vow they're going to change their diet, they're going to lose weight, they're going to get healthy, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. And you know, if you've said you want to do it, the spirit is willing. It's the flesh that's weak. Your heart's right, but you don't. But you need new skills. You need the coaching. Creates an architecting to support the decision you've made.
That's right.
So this year, prophetically, we can promise you, many of us, me included, that had said, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. This is the year we actually cross over and walk in the territory of the health that God has wanted for one very important reason. Your calling requires a certain degree of sustained energy.
Yes, absolutely.
You can't be half there when the enemy's all there. If you meet a level 10 devil, you can't defeat it with a level 8 physical condition.
That's right.
You have to be able to match the challenge that you're in.
It's very good.
So this is a year when God's going to give us territory, but guys like you are going to coach us.
I'm honored to do that, and it's very simple. And let me just give you some key insights. The excellence of health constitutes an excellence of cognition. And that's a fancy way to say, as a man thinketh, so is he. So if you're thinking that your body is not valuable, you'll never value it. I admit it. I did not value my marriage, so I would use it abnormally. That's a fancy way of saying abusing it. Abuse comes from the derivative abnormal use. So if we're abusing our marriage, or abusing drugs, or abusing alcohol, you can also be abusing your flesh. And these are weaknesses of the flesh. The way you combat those is, yes, through prayer, yes, through fasting, but a lot of people have done that, it hasn't worked. I'll be quite honest with you. And I'm not undermining that, because it can work. But what I have seen that's foolproof is once the human being, Lance, develops a value system, unequivocally, like you value your job, you're there every day, you know you're going to get fired. Once the value of health and understanding your body, that your arteries are clogging, that stroke does hit 1 in 4, that water and dehydration can cause certain ailments. Obesity is related to 12 diseases that are fatal. There's one right there that should tell you, I have taken responsibility to move into a value system. That's number one. And concrete value. Solidifying the argument, my body is the temple, not a temple.
Okay, now,
the temple.
Now, I don't know how much time we have remaining in the broadcast, but I'm desperate for us to get out to everybody. The 3 or 4 categories of lifestyle choices that you've made that you think can immediately have an impact on us if we would join you in those categories. What categories are what are the big settings of the big categories of where you're very intentional about what you do?
You mean in the realm of health?
Yeah, in the realm of health.
In order to stay thin, because when Tia and I married, I was 185 and I've stayed in that zone. So it's been now 14 years. How do you stay keeping the weight down, staying healthy? This is what you're saying. Yeah. Number one that I always do just for Coach Ron is I drink a lot of water. And I also drink a lot of greens because I'm not a big vegetable guy, but I'm smart enough to know you can buy 2.2 pounds of fresh vegetables and a little shot of powder that's sold on the market. One of them I use is my good friend Jordan Rubin, who wrote The Maker's Diet. To give him a plug, he has a great one called Perfect Food. Of course, another company owns that now, but that one there is just unbelievable. But there's a plethora of green products. You want to stay green on the outside. You know this whole go green thing. Well, yes, decrease your carbon fiber, but increase your greens. Okay?
Green on the outside or inside?
Well, I mean, green on the inside, of course. Okay. You go green, decreasing our carbon fiber for the environment.
I got you.
Got green. Okay. See, you got it. See?
Now that's sinking in. It's a new mentality. Okay.
Number 2 is no late night eating. I mean, late night eating, especially sweets.
Oh,
that is,
stop.
If you wanna, what I call go on the sumo wrestler's diet, then eat late at night and eat a lot of ice cream.
Now, late night would be after 9 or after 8 or after 7?
I always recommend as a coach for you to decrease your intake probably 3 hours before you go to bed. If you can do 4 or 5, it's even better because you've got this stress where you're decreasing your activity level and then you're sedentary.
I know. How about the sleep stuff? I'm hearing that if you're not sleeping a lot, you're killing yourself. But come on now, Edison, 4 hours. I thought this was the cult of energy that we love.
You know, I often talk about that. If I can just stay up another 12 hours, I could double my year.
Come on.
I could have 700 days in a year instead of 300,
but
right?
But that doesn't work, huh?
It's actually counterproductive. In fact, there is a new study out. It's actually not new. It's been out. And I used to advocate this even before the study was out, to God be the glory, that proved when a human being rests after they've worked, that they will come back into the sphere of their influence twice as productive, because the brain will go into a overproductive mode organically, rather than you having to create the ingenuity or the pump or the motivation to get back going.
Do you know Napoleon Bonaparte changed the work week in France to every 10th day was a Sabbath, not 7?
Yes.
And productivity went drastically backwards. He realized you can't work 9 days and take the 10th day off. God has the plan. The Sabbath.
I have a great, yes, absolutely. It is a Sabbath. You've got to take a Sabbath. And resting your body, just not sleeping necessarily, of course, sleep, yes, but just laying down.
All right, now how about working out? You went to the gym today. What do you focus on when you go to the gym?
Well, this morning, I didn't want to do any weight training because I didn't want to sit here like this today.
Right.
And but I did do a 30-minute cardiovascular work where I ran an interval. So I warmed up for 10 minutes. I just walked. I listened to some good worship music. I prayed. One of the most beautiful quotes that I live by is Oswald Chambers said, "A private relationship of worshiping God is the most essential element of spiritual fitness."
Can't get a better quote than that, people.
A private relationship increases spiritual fitness. And so I do 2 in 1. In the morning, I go for a walk, and then, of course, I run 30 seconds, then I stop. This process is called interval training, which actually takes the heart rate up high and then brings it low. And then you kind of create like this.
Do you recommend I do that at 60, 59, 58, around that age?
It's dependent. You got to think about your knees and your joints and, of course, all of those things. But a fast-paced walk where you're elevating the heart rate, if you don't want to run, you've got to increase the resistance via incline.
Well, we're down to 2 minutes now. They're holding up signs. I don't know where the time went. Is that it? Is there anything we missed?
No, yes, there is one part, because I do want to go back to the sleep part, because I have a client I wrote about in my book, 30-Second Solution. I called it 30 Seconds, 20 Million. And it's a great story. You'll have to read about it in the book, but the short of it is he was a workaholic. And he worked and worked. Very admirable for him to do that, supporter of his family. And I said, you have got to go on vacation. You are working yourself to the ground. He took a vacation. While he was on vacation, he came back and someone offered him $20 million for his company. He hadn't done anything to deserve it.
Well, there it is, people.
It hadn't done anything to do it, but it's very important that you do keep rest as part of the 5-fold application. So no late night eating, keeping health. This is excellence. Of course, it's thinking. Value system.
We got that. We got the hydration.
No late night eating. Stay hydrated. Keep yourself in a restful state. Of course, in the last one we talked about was hydration. Hydration and, of course, keeping yourself rested. And you asked me what I personally do. I make sure every day that I'm saying something positive to my wife, saying something positive to my children, and saying something positive to a friend or even a stranger, because that gift of perpetuality makes for a valued life. You value other people in your words, life will value you. And we're out of time.
Love that.
I hope you guys have enjoyed the broadcast. Dr. Lance, it has been an honor, sir, to have you be here. Dr. Lance is not going to be a stranger. He will be back. Remember to join us next week. And remember, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. The greatness of your life, the excellence of your life comes from the inside out, not from the outside in. I'm Coach Ron Kardashian. Until next week, God bless you.
God cares about your leadership ability. He has deep concern as to what you're going through. And that's why I'm so excited to offer you my best-selling book, The 30-Second Solution. Take a look at what Bishop T.D. Jakes has to say about this.
I want to congratulate Ron Kardashian on his book, 30-Second Solution. Give this book a read. It's powerful. It's life-changing. 30-Second Solution? You need to check this out.
To take advantage of this product offer, please visit leader10.com. For your donation of $15 or more, your postage and handling is covered. It's time to take the limits off of you, and that can happen in a matter of 30 seconds.